gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty, how's a quick sound check? Everybody can hear me okay? Excellent, good morning. Please, by the way, if it's your first time here, drop your LinkedIn URLs or introduce yourself in the chat because I have introduced many people in forums like this where literally they have started businesses together, and I wouldn't say they've started families together, but there has been a lot of cool things. So Mr. Gia is cool. He's got a video placeholder instead of a camera. That's actually really cool. I need to get one of those. Ah, man, Mr. Nguyen. I'm obviously pronouncing that wrong. Vietnamese names are some of the toughest names to pronounce. So I have it set up in 2 Zoom rooms today. Call you Mike. Actually, I'm going to have to unmute you because you have to actually help us all one of these days to show us really how that last name should be pronounced. Do you know what I mean? Jeffrey, good morning. JK, finally you're here. Super nice to see you, mate. At this point, let me just make sure. I've got a few more things to turn off. It's so weird. I mean, as you know, I was in the studio here on Wednesday, and this morning I rock up here and I'm like, today I'm going to be early. And the software that runs my switchers here is just literally gone. It's like it's not on the computer. Now I'm not some like newbie techie guy. I'm really quite a techie. And the software is just gone. It's so weird. It's like the gremlins, like the minions are in here at night, you know what I mean? And they just come and play with my stuff. It's really quite amazing. But anyway, I think I am ready. I have a pretty punchy agenda for you today. Maurizio, good morning, buongiorno. Jacob is there from, I think, Sweden with the coolest hairdo and beard I've ever seen. It actually looks like his LinkedIn profile today. I stalked him on LinkedIn this morning, and like he's one of those guys that could create an AI type avatar that would be like a cartoon figure, that could be like a superhero, that could be all of those things together. I absolutely love it. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm feeling almost like that.
So, are you Danish?
Yeah, I'm Danish.
Okay, so then allow me quick digression. So the only Danish I know is Store Perra and
And should we say what that means?
big boobs,
Yeah.
and Lille Pig, which is a small penis, and then of course Holgrømme Now
Yeah.
I'll tell you the story of how I know all of that stuff, but we will get into that later. Yeah, I mean. So listen, I'm famously notorious for running over time. So let me get cracking because I actually have a really big agenda. Terry Cook, good morning. I have a really big agenda for you guys today. I want to really share something with you guys, okay? So please feel free to use the chat. Drop any questions in there. There's an interesting thing that a lot of people don't know about the chat, okay? When the Zoom meeting closes right at the end, as the meeting ends, you actually get a copy of the chat. So I put a lot of the stuff in the chat. Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey is saying I don't see the email from Wednesday with the notes, and that is because of a highly technical thing. Jeffrey, I haven't sent it yet. Okay, so I just got so busy. I had so many things to do. And then I kind of realized that Wednesday session, right, was kind of like a little all over the place. And I have this wonderful thing that I love to create videos that are unfiltered, unscripted, unedited, and a little unhinged. But as a result, sometimes the meeting kind of goes all over the place, you know. But the thing that I want to get into really, really quickly with all of you guys, okay, is to have a quick look around, right? So Josh is in the car. Mario is in the Südtirol. By the way, if you are on a mobile device, turn it sideways and you'll get a better result, unless your phone doesn't do it. I mean, then the auto switching is off, because that allows you to quickly swipe right to get the gallery, swipe left to unmute yourself, all that kind of stuff. But you see that we're living in this like absolutely hybrid world, right? I am absolutely a paper guy, right? Like this goes everywhere with me. These notebooks, I have them. We actually send them out. Some of you will have received them. Planning Your Magnum Opus, that's a mastermind that we do. And I literally go through one of those a week. I am absolutely hardwired. I leave notes for people. I even have a napkin here, like when people can't hear you, or when you want to break up with somebody, you can go, oh, no, it's me, it's not you, or it's you, it's not me. I am a notorious napkin scribbler. Here are my notes from literally about 2 weeks worth of stuff. I actually built $1 billion business on the back of the placemats of the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. So I'm really an old school guy, but I'm also a total techie, and we are all living in that kind of world, right? Some of you guys I've actually met in person only because we met on LinkedIn and you came to the cafe or something like that. I mean, and it's just this wonderful gift that we're living in, but it's also incredibly distracting, by the way. This morning I woke up, my wife didn't even say good morning. She's like, we're having such trouble with email. Google domains, runs our email, and they are just deciding what we get to see and what we don't, even though any filtering is off. Everything is off, it's the distractions, the pings, my inbox on my text messages looks like my email account, and there's 700,000 unread items, right? And the kind of earth-shattering truth, let's call it that I want to bring, that's going to change everything, is that I have really realized that this debate about analog versus digital is absolutely dead, right? And so many people are fighting that battle on trying to pick fights. And I think that's like the Civil War. You're not going to win on that one. But the top clients that we work with, that we've seen, have discovered something that really makes that entire debate irrelevant, because they have realized that it's not digital versus analog, it's both, okay? But I re-scripted this whole discussion today because a young man asked me a couple of really pointed questions yesterday, and one of them was like, if you had an absolute do-over like today, what are the 3 things that you would take with you? What are the 3 things that absolutely changed the game that I could literally implement today? And I had to really think about that, because I have about 30 or 40 for him. I mean, so I want to take you through some of these things, because these 3 secrets, and I alluded to one of them on Wednesday, they will really, really change the game for you. And I hope to add a lot of value to you. There is no kind of crazy like upsell or anything like that at the end of this. This is not a Grant Cardone webinar. This is me basically coming out here telling my story and dropping some nuggets in the chat. I'll hope to try and remember to do that. Otherwise, I'll add them all at the end, okay? Because each of these secrets essentially exposes a massive problem that 95% of entrepreneurs don't even know they have, okay? And I think that these problems are really so silently murdering anyone's capital raising. And when I mean capital raising, by the way, it's the same thing as client attraction. It's the same thing, okay? You're either attracting your right fit client, your right fit investor, or your right fit partner. So when I say capital raising, it's really just an old habit, because I've been calling it for that long, right? And then at the end of those 3 secrets, I'll show you the fusion breakthrough that solves all of them, okay? So sorry for the long introduction, already 4 minutes over time. But I really want to get you guys this complete roadmap to stop chasing capital and start attracting it, okay? Through very authentic analog digital fusion that essentially works. I hate cold calling, hate pitch decks. no praying for callbacks, literally just end this thing for all. So I'm going to get straight into it. Very, very quick origin story, because mainly I've got about 35 people in Zoom Room 2 that have never met me. And even here in Zoom Room 1, which is my favorite because it sits right here, right by my camera. Half of you I don't know either. So I'm going to do a quick intro, because I have spent 20 years essentially raising capital the hard way, followed by 15 years of actually iterating it and doing it right. But I learned one real soul-crushing lesson in all of that when I was doing it, because the old approach, the old school analog approach, was actually like killing me, even though I'm an old school fireside analog guy, right? It's the endless flights, the hotel lobbies, the super expensive conferences, where marketers are selling to marketers and you don't know, and just getting ghosted pitch after pitch after pitch. And I actually have an acronym for that, the BBB, which is not the Better Business Bureau. It's the system of bullshitting, begging, and badgering people. Because cold calling, to me, literally, some people love it, right? I know Terry has got no problem with it, but to me, that is literally like swiping left on my soul. I think it's an awful experience. I think that I hate even getting cold calls. I teach people how not to do cold calls when they cold call me. So it all kind of goes back to, picture the scene, 6 years old, it's kind of my earliest memories. Father died in a plane accident. Now it's my mom, my sister, and me living literally in Namibia, which was at the point Southwest Africa, which is how I know some Danish, because we had some Danish United Nations task force members who oversaw our elections. But that is a story for another thing. But literally, I grew up in this like Civil War country. Right? It was like snipers on the roof, bombs going off in cafes and churches. Then I had a stepfather, a brilliant man, but hyper aggressive alcoholic. Literally once emptied an entire AK-47 clip in our living room, right? So I learned very quickly to adjust to disruption, right? And adaptation and quick pivots. They really became part of my life and my lexicon, right? There wasn't just something that I learned, it was part of my DNA. And I had to learn this ability to read situations really quickly, like super quick, adapt on the fly, and find creative solutions, right? When the conventional paths were blocked. And it's actually my entire makeup, right? It's how I run. And those skills actually became super critical in my capital raising systems that I developed, right? But fast forward to like age 18, I decided to get an education, and went for something called the Sir Mark Turner Memorial Scholarship from Rio Tinto PLC. 50,000 applicants, one person gets it, right? So here I am, this like square German kid from Namibia, going through an independence, right, where 96% of the country is black. Trust me, they did not want to give it to me, right? They really didn't. It was like, those guys were doing affirmative action and, wokeness way before those were even terms, right? So I just really didn't blend in. And with that kind of political climate in my interview, which is done by the main board of Rio Tinto Zinc, right? I had nothing to lose. I didn't try and hide or pretend to be anything that I wasn't. I just literally showed up prepared, but showed up in an authentic, respectful way. And that was my first real big secret that would transform my entire business career, right? Because authenticity is absolutely your superpower. And it is a incredible skill, right? I'll drop that in the chat there, because when you can figure out to be relentlessly, respectfully authentic, okay, you've actually tapped into your superpower. Yet somehow in our life, we spend so much of our life learning how to try and basically fit in. So anyway, move on real quick from that. I absolutely won that scholarship by a total mile. I was like a rock star at college. I mean, literally, they would fly you back and forwards with private jets because they're essentially building the next board material, right? By 19, I built my first trading business, started making some real money at college, but I was a total poser, total fake it till you make it. Drove a white S-Class at college, wore suits with a big Siemens S1 mobile phone, had a gorgeous blonde taking my notes. I mean, God, like, oh, just a cringe factor. Yeah, I mean, um, absolutely crushed it at that point. By my mid-20s, moved to Hong Kong, read James Clavell's novels of Taipan and Shogun, and just absolutely fell in love with Hong Kong. But then that 97 crisis absolutely hit me because I was in the options market, futures markets, highly leveraged, and I just lost everything: savings, investments, ego, everything, all wiped out. Minus 2 million in the hole, with 3 young kids in the world's most expensive city, right? And in those days, we actually still paid our bills. But fast forward a lot, you recover from these things and you learn and you grow. And I'm sure you guys know that you only ever grow when you're in the downhills. You don't grow at the top where they're serving champagne, right? You know what I mean? But literally, with my back against the wall, I answered an ad. I thought, shit, I got to get a job for a portfolio manager, right? And literally day one, I walk in, they dump the phone book and they give me a piece of paper and they go, there we go, Andre, here's your script, start dialing for dollars, right? And I absolutely recall, on top of that, I'm an introvert actually, and I hate cold calls with a passion. But financial circumstances, I had absolutely no choice, and failure was just not an option for me, right? So I wasn't going to sacrifice my dignity either by calling poor, unsuspecting people and trying to, con them into 55-year savings term, saving long-term savings plans and investments and all that kind of stuff. All my people sitting on the bench next to me, they were what we called filth. Failed in London, try Hong Kong. I think Josh has lived in Hong Kong, so he'll remember the type. Yeah, I mean, former failed air conditioning salesman on our financial advisors in Hong Kong. That was my peer group, and I'm like, I can do way better than this. And that started my journey of finding other ways to get it done, and actually started my hybrid analog digital journey. We don't have time to go into it. I want to only mention my total rock bottom hit in 2003 after I'd already raised hundreds of millions and worked for a really great London company, monthly board meetings back and forwards from Hong Kong to London. And I proposed a fund structure for a new fund, and wow, it was so revolutionary, a fund where investors would actually make money, right? Not just us as the managers. And the chairman at the time, and he just literally shot it down. He goes, yeah, stupid idea. And Anrik, we don't entertain dilettantes here. And I mentioned this on Wednesday. I had to look that up because I had no idea what it was. But that kind of humiliation literally forced me to see 2 life-changing truths. Number one, I was a dilettante. I was dabbling at capital raising instead of mastering it. And I realized at that point that if you're building a business like it, you're actually building 2 businesses. You've got to build one of the thing that you actually want to do, and then you've got to build another business to attract the capital so that you've actually got something to manage. And then the other thing that I realized, that I'd literally been fighting the wrong war. I had this conflict between the analog and the digital, and it was really just a distraction from the real breakthroughs, right? And the power nugget that I want to drop in the chat quickly, I forgot to do that earlier, which I got to do that here quickly, but there are 40 bloody screens here, and every now and then my mouse disappears. There we go, found it. Is that the breakthroughs come to you not when you're winning, they come from your lowest points. I have a philosophy that I run with called TGIF. Today is Friday, and it doesn't stand for thank God I failed. It stands for it doesn't stand for thank God it's Friday. It stands for thank God I failed. And it's really a great, great philosophy. So this fusion methodology that I came up with really transformed my capital raising from this exhausting warfare into magnetic attraction, right? So post 2003, I launched Infinity Capital AG in Switzerland, Hong Kong, London, New York, Tokyo, basically anywhere they had money. You know what I mean? Back office in Christchurch, New Zealand, because we could appoint all of these phenomenal quants and MBAs that would, want $5 million per year in London, and they were prepared to work for 10% of that in New Zealand. time zone system, all that kind of stuff. So basically, I lived on an aeroplane, but literally, we built this business. No AUM, no track record, some cash from me to get it started. So it was all struggle and BS and BBB, and bullshit, begging and badgering in the beginning. And it was so hard, man. But eventually I kind of like broke through and I started creating systems for this stuff, right? Because especially if you're a high impact person that takes things personal, well, guess what? Rejection gets you down and the resistance climbs in there and smacks you in the balls, man, or just repeatedly over and over. And the closer you get to being successful, the harder it gets, right? So essentially, this thing did work. I mean, we got really successful, raised a couple of $1 billion. Every fund launch was like 300 million and above. After that, I created the Global Fund Exchange platform. That's where, I met Laura Louise because it needed a grown-up to run it. We raised another 1.6 billion for that, and essentially built another 50 fund vehicles on the back of that. But this is really not about me, and that's the end of it from me, as I already cringe telling you all of this stuff because I always just want to get straight to the business and straight to helping you. But people go, hey, why don't you tell me who you are? Yeah, I mean, what makes you qualified? So anyway, that was a half-assed lame attempt at giving you a quick introduction. But I wanted to share this framework with you because it came from something, and it has literally helped me raise billions without cold calling, sleazy sales techniques, etc. And these three frameworks that I actually re-engineered from Wednesday's talk in here are actually the three things that are the game changers, okay? So secret number one, and I'm going to go through three of them, is this revelation of the right fit everything, okay? Right fit client, right fit investors, right fit partners, right? So when I say right fit clients, I mean all of that, because there are two ways to raise capital. You either go find investors and then you leverage that capital, or you find lots of your right fit clients and you turn that into a tribe and you sell them the stuff, right? So either way, you're achieving the same thing, okay? So I have I don't know where I've got it. Yeah, there we go. let me get out of the way real quick. This is how people traditionally raise money, okay? Because it's literally like clients with money, you know what I mean? And the secret that I really came up with is that you got to stop fighting the crowd at trying to find this 10% that everybody else, I call this the usual suspects, okay? And tap into the untapped 90%, okay? Let me quickly show this for you, okay? And I go through this extensively longer when I'm in big rooms, but every time I have 100 people or more in a room, I do this exercise because I'm a car guy and I say, okay, everybody raise your hand. If you're, and you've heard the story before, Terry, so I apologize for that. But if you're buying a car right now, please raise your hand. And 3% of the people raise their hands. Then I go, keep your hand up and also raise your hand if you're going to be buying a car in the next 6 months. You've got a daughter that's going off to college, you've got a lease that's going on, and another 6%, 7% of people raise their hands. And it's literally always the same every time I do it, right? Because the investor business, the raising capital business is exactly the same. Everybody fights over the same 10%, okay? Literally, who are looking for what it is that you're doing, who have made a decision to invest in your asset class or in your type of business or the VC funds if you're a founder, etc. And all that basically does, it makes it a gladiator death match against Blackstone, BlackRock. I mean, might as well just call them Black Hole, because all of the cash goes down there. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter if it's not just those guys mentioned, Vanguard, all that stuff. They own everything, and the companies that they own everything, right? And it's where everybody goes shopping. In the hedge fund space, it's the family office space of these big family offices that are on all the lists. It is the most overbroked list and the most overbooked list on planet. It's stale, it's awful, and I think it is just the quickest way to get completely ignored, okay? And I literally would go through rooms and I'd say, hey, everybody, anybody here fed up of fighting over scraps, like watching what looks like unqualified, greedy morons on the internet and on TV getting rich. Like anybody sick of it? And literally everybody raises their hand, you know what I mean? Because the thing that is exposed in it super quickly is that most entrepreneurs are literally just fishing in oceans with big nets where they should be spearfishing in aquariums or, in my style, with dynamite in a hole. You know what I mean? Because you're casting wide nets hoping to catch all these things, catch anything, when the smartest money is swimming in much smaller, more targeted pools, right? And the way that I broke through this, okay, is through the dining room table strategy. And that was literally my breakthrough. I have a big dining room that seats 12 people, right? And that's how I started teaching it initially, because I just said to people, stop thinking like a salesperson, start thinking like a master curator. So imagine your business as this intimate dinner party. You have a table that seats 12. You and your partner each take 2 seats, okay? I've always got 3 dogs under the table. Who deserves the other 10 seats? Because you see, these are not just investors. They're your business family, essentially, right, for years to come. And then you might get like another lockdown where they shut everything down and now you got these 10 people living in your house, right? And that's how you got to think about this type of thing, because if you fill your table with energy vampires, okay, or people that are just all in it for them, there's no room for the game changers. And the way that I learned this was really the hard way, because there we go, put the nugget in there for you, because the money from the wrong people is actually like a toxic, shitty loan with catastrophic consequences. Whereas money from your right fit client, investor, or partner is literally like rocket fuel on your dreams, because your right fit client, especially when you're starting out, brings your next 10 clients or investors with you, right? So that was my really big breakthrough that I think I can use to literally build almost any business. Because as humans, we immediately start with our what, we start with our business, start with our introduction. It is all created by this awful question. Oh, so JK, what do you do? And then you don't want to be nasty, you answer the question. And that's not the answer they want, right? So when you get laser clear about who belongs at your table, something quite miraculous happens. You stop selling and you start selecting. You start attracting and selecting. Because the wrong partners, they will drain your soul. They will dilute your vision. They will define your reputation to the actual right people that are watching, right? And that's the danger. Whereas your right fit partners, they will rave about you. They will renew their commitments with you without hesitation, and they will recruit others like them. So I have lists of RRR lists in various geographies, and I never put more than 50 people on those lists, because 50 people, if I'm in the Middle East, I can connect with them and I can go and see 25 or 30 of them and have a really powerful analog experience with them, even though they came into my machine digitally, right? Because when you talk to everyone, you're literally trying to connect with too many people, and it just doesn't work. It's like if you're trying to catch 2 rabbits, unless you have, a lot of shotguns, you're going to catch none of them, right? So you want to really define your right fit client so precisely. They literally think that you're reading their diary or bugging their office. And I get that question quite often, where somebody says, Anrik, are you bugging my office? Yeah, I mean, no, I just know who you are, because I've walked that road. I know exactly what's going on right now, right? But that opens up the next problem, because you now know that you need to focus on your right fit client, but how do you systematically find them? That's the problem, right? How do you become visible to the right people while staying invisible or getting blocked by the wrong ones, okay? And most entrepreneurs that I work with, they are stuck at that point. They kind of know who they want, but they're working at it from the wrong end. They have no systematic approach to attract them, right? Through this like chaos of like analog and the digital noise, right? And the belief that we always start with is like, okay, they go, I need this wide net to catch more fish. Wrong, absolutely wrong, because wide nets catch more trash. Precision spears, like catch the trophy fish, right? And we heard this a lot, that the riches are in the niches, but the fortune is in the focus, right? And that's where secret number 2 comes in, right? And this is the second thing that I could not do without, is really the story revolution, okay? And I think Steve Jobs said it best. Let me see if that comes up. Yeah, I mean, the most powerful person in the world is the storyteller, okay? Because most amateurs, right, they get this part wrong. And once they go through some training with us, they get this right, and it gets better and better, and you see the light going off in their eyes, right? And I always start in the same place. I said, stop leading with facts and logic, okay? And start leading with your authentic signature story that creates these irresistible emotional connections, right? Because the dream killing mistake that murders literally most capital raising client attraction efforts is that we lead with features and stats and credentials, and we think that these rational arguments create commitment. Like, your spreadsheet doesn't move mountains at all. Your track record doesn't build trust. Your credentials do not create connection. Authentic stories do, okay? So have you ever sat through a pitch that felt like watching paint dry, even though the guy put a lot of effort into it, right? I've sat through literally 12,000 of them. I have one always available on my little device here, because getting pitched from LinkedIn literally feels like that, you know? And it is just an awful thing. My wife hates it when I bring it up, but it's such a good visual because I do it. I'm so in my head, and I know not to do it, yet every now and then I just catch myself pitching, and I'm like, And you got to realize that literally numbers, right? Even as a numbers guy, they're just noise, right? They're noise without narrative, because facts inform, statistics bore and lie, but stories ignite emotion, and emotion is the thing that triggers action, right? So that was a really big breakthrough for me, and I went on a like a 3-year, like all into that, yeah, man. And in that process, I found that most entrepreneurs are basically just these robots reciting resumes when they should be humans sharing from the heart. But it feels weird. It feels awkward, especially for us Germans. I mean, oh God, you know, I mean, they remove emotions and sense of humor, apparently, with, you know, right in an early stage, because people think they invest in opportunities, but it's not true. People actually invest in people that they believe in, that they like and trust. And this all sounds great in a Tony Robbins book, yeah, I mean, but how do you actually do it, right? And I kind of realized that great ideas do not actually change the world. Great stories do. The problem is we don't know how to tell them. Okay, we think that it should be stories like a long, long time ago, blah, 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 and then they lived happily ever after. No, there's a story creation. You can learn this. And I'm like, what? You can learn this. So even me as an introvert, I learned how to do that, because we as entrepreneurs, we tell stories because they make people feel something so that they will do something. And that was really the big breakthrough for me, even though initially I didn't know how to do it. I'm still not very good at it, by the way, and it doesn't matter. But if you look at guys like Elon Musk, who's like on the spectrum, right? The guy's so weird, but he's a master storyteller. Jeff Bezos, master storyteller. Steve Jobs, hands down, one of the best storytellers on the planet. Bill Clinton, love him or hate him, storyteller. Barack Obama, ugh, storyteller. Yeah, I mean, these are people. And stories can be used for good or for bad. That's the thing. But it can be used in business, right? Because when you share your authentic story, but strategically, you're literally launching neurochemical missiles into people's brains, right? So your origin story is going to release oxytocin, the trust molecule. Your epiphany bridge, which I'll explain to you in a second, triggers a dopamine, the motivation drug. And your vision story creates cortisol. and a healthy urgency about missed opportunity. So it's not manipulation, it's just authentic communication, right? And it really honors how humans make decisions. And my notes for my storytelling workshop, they're in here somewhere. I got to find them 1 second. There's way too many buttons here. Holy moly, number 15. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, there we go. So that's essentially, I'll take you through it real quick, and you can grab a screenshot, or I can drag it into the chat for you, because it gets you thinking about it. Because if you see your origin story and your vision story and your validation story, they actually overlap, okay? And you can use that story structure to create a road of where people are going. So let me just drag that into the chat quickly, see if that works for you, because then I don't need to promise to send it to you later. Okay, let's see. There we go. Yeah, that actually works. Okay, bingo, boom. All right, because then I can continue on all of this, because the way you got to think about this, okay, is that your origin story, right, is, I got a better way we can do this, is where you come from, right? I just dropped my pen. There we go. Your origin story is where you come from. And it's not your whole background, the whole thing. It's really just your struggles, your catalysts, your defining moments. It's literally you're giving people a golden thread that people can pull on that allows them to enter your universe, okay? And it's really all about what experiences that drove you to find these solutions, right? So that's the origin story. And that leads next. I normally like to put them up above each other, but I started in the wrong place. Leads to your vision story, okay? If you go too quick to the vision story, it fails, right? Because your vision story is about where are you going and with who, by the way. Super, super important, with who. Because at this point, your future is like spoken as a present reality. We are building this transformation, not we hope to try. This is where you deliver your boldest, most compelling future imaginable, right? But without the origin story as an anchor, people just see it as a sales pitch, okay? Because that has to eventually lead to your conversion story, okay? Or validation story. I'll put it both in it. Some of it will make more sense, because the conversion story is how we're going to win together. So that's exactly how you and your right fit client are going to create mutual success. So this is the part where you show the road. Make sense? Even though you might not have built it yet. And there's a real power move in the middle of all of that. If you think of this as A, B, C, D, it's okay if you've only built the road to A. People love to see the road, the train tracks that you're going on, okay? And you can't bullshit about it, but you can show them the road and then show them their role, where they're going to be on that road, okay? Because there is this amazing thing here, I'll just draw it in purple, called your Epiphany Bridge. And your Epiphany Bridge, look at any Russell Crowe movie, any really good movies, they will have the hero's journey in it, right? That goes into your origin story. But then you have this vision. Well, how did you discover the vision? Oh, and we teach this in our storytelling workshops and things like that, and I don't have the time for that. But the Epiphany Bridge really connects all three of those, right? Because you want to find this breakthrough moment when you discovered the solution that changes everything, right? The bridge links to your origin story, to your vision story, and from there it links to your conversion story, because that becomes your transformation story. So your conversion story is actually your business, is your product. Make sense? So if you start there, no wonder you lose 90% of everybody who's talking, who's listening, right? Because it just is an awful place to start. So I've really learned that by doing this properly in a presentation, it absolutely delivers incredibly so. Hey, Codrin, nice of you to join us. Thank you for joining us. Super, super nice. Because one of the greatest things that you have in your arsenal is your mess, is your scar tissue. And if you can learn to turn your mess into your message, right? And the tests of your life become your testimony. Those scars become your superpower, not your baggage. But you got to choose which ones to take with you, right? And the quickest way I found to do that is not so much to focus on like who you are and do all this identity searching and all this stuff, but to really focus on who it is that you're becoming. And it was Codrin that asked me that question yesterday that really got me thinking, that got me to actually re-engineer the whole syntax of this. Because if you're focused on who it is that you're becoming, right, in order to yield the life that you want and deserve, you realize that your future self is actually watching you. And people are far more interested, by the way, in who you're becoming and where you're going than where you've been. They really are not that interested. And that's where the origin, a clever and clear origin story comes in, because they're tuned into a radio station called WIIFM. What's in it for me? So your background is only relevant to how it affects them and how it can help your vision provide their conversion, okay? And the thing that makes this approach absolutely unstoppable, and hear me on this point, this is the one point that I wish I would have started 20 years ago, is respectful, relentless authenticity. Because your failures, your setbacks, your scars, they're not weaknesses to hide. They're absolute weapons to deploy for maximum connection. And when you weaponize your scar tissue, you create magnetically authentic machines that essentially draw the right people to you whilst naturally filtering out the wrong ones, okay? But obviously that now brings the next problem is, okay, so how do you deliver this story? We now know that we need this story, but how do you deliver it consistently, okay? And that's the challenge, right? How do you deliver this across analog and digital channels? How do you scale authentic storytelling without losing the magic in it? That part is so weird for me. It feels like French kissing at a funeral. It's just awkward, and you're not supposed to do it, right? But that is essentially where systems come in. And everybody starts with this belief, me too. I'm not a good storyteller. I suck at this. Well, lies. Because you've actually been telling yourself stories your whole life, right? The story that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not ready enough. Then you listen to everybody else who's telling you all that stuff. So I always go, be careful who you let speak into your microphone, okay? Especially yourself. Because all you need to do is make a decision to tell a better story. The one where you're the hero, or maybe you're the reluctant hero, and the client is the hero, and you help them win, right? So there are great storytelling workshops, great storytelling books that I can put you in touch with, But most entrepreneurs just tell their story once, and then they wonder why nothing happened, right? Because they lack the systematic approach to turn authentic storytelling into predictable capital attraction. And that's really where secret number 3 provides the missing piece. And I realize I'm already 14 minutes over schedule. So I'm going to try and speed up for you, or you guys could just stay a little bit longer and we'll have coffee at the end. You know what I mean? Because the realization and the nugget in this one is that great stories, okay, do not work so easily, okay? Because the great ideas that you have, they don't change the world. But the great story isn't a great story in the beginning. It has to be well structured into those 3 different sequences and delivered at the right time and the right sequence and the right repetition to the right audience to change the world. And that's where the systems come in. And that's where my secret number 3 to answer Codrin's question from yesterday is like, what 3 things can you not do without? And that would be my systems revolution, right? Because 90% of capital raisers die literally out on the field, right? And so I just say to people, stop building separate analog and separate digital systems. Start creating a fusion ecosystems that is omnipresent, that systematically move your prospects through the football field of influence, okay? And I love teaching this football field of influence. I literally do it twice a day almost. Because the literally capital murdering mistake that kills more dreams than I've seen is that people try to score touchdowns from their own 20-yard line. okay? They build analog systems, sometimes some hybrid digital systems where they should be building fusion systems that move prospects systematically through strategic zones, okay? And this is where I have the biggest impact with entrepreneurs that we work with, right? And some of them are like, brand new guys that want to get launched. Sometimes they're 7-figure entrepreneurs that want to go to 9 figures. Yeah, I mean, we've taken businesses that are $20 billion companies that are now 200 billion in AUM with this, okay? So if there's anything you don't want to miss, it's this thing. Even if you've heard it before, watch it again, because I will literally explain it to you step by step by step, okay? And I want to quickly put this up behind me, okay, so you can visualize it, okay? And I will get you a copy of it, but I'm actually going to draw it out. And it's actually more powerful if you draw it out yourself, because as I said, the number one problem is people are building either analog or systems, right? And if you can build these together in this framework, you've got a winning combo, okay? And I'll literally run you right through it super, super quickly. Switch to my iPad again. And you just think of your business and your funnels and your whole machine, everything that you're trying to do as a series of these football fields, right? So you're going to have one leading to the next, leading to the next, leading to the next, okay? And they all look like this. So that's just 3. Sometimes it's 5. When I started, I had 9. Now I have 3. And the basics of it is really simple. Think of it as 0 to 100 yards, okay? And it doesn't matter if you're not a football guy, works for soccer. I'm a rugby player. It works exactly for that. And you just break this field into a couple of zones: A, B, C, D, E, F, and so on. So I'm going to try and put these in here. A is from 0 to 40 yards, okay? Does it have to be exactly 40? No, but the idea is this is the validation box, okay? This is where you're trying to get some boxes and get some ticks in the boxes, and what you're trying to do is get nodding heads, okay? This is, in a digital world, is like content basically that speaks directly to your clients' pain points. LinkedIn posts that make them think, oh, how did you know that? Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, in an analog situation, it's actively listening, validating people face to face in meetings, demonstrating like a deep understanding of the problem. We're not bringing solutions yet. We're just showing understanding of the problem. But when you fuse that, you can have digital systems that do that for you, even analog versions of it. And I'll explain that in a second, because zone B is the fascination component. That goes 40 to 60 yards, okay? And in that zone, there you really want people to lean in a little bit. And in my, where did I now put it? Over here, you'll see it in the third zone. I have a compass and glasses and stethoscopes in zone C. But just before that, you'll see, I should just stay up here and then point to it. Okay, there we go. Right there, I've got like a gear with a dot going to, shit, I suck at this. Basically connecting the dots, okay? That's what you're trying to do, where you're essentially using like case studies or transformation content that creates the lean in moment where people are going, oh, that's interesting, right? In an analog way, that would be literally telling stories over coffee, right? That bridge their pain to your unique insights. What you're trying to do here is earn the right for the next step, okay? Because you can create so much momentum here, but if you skip the 40 to 60 yard, right? And let's call this the fascination team. You've actually just wasted like 80% of your sales right there. Then the next one, zone C, that is 60 to 80 yards. Do you see how deep we are into the amount of time that you have available, right? This part is essentially where you're now starting to position yourself as an expert. We call that an acronym TEAM. You know what I mean? Trusted, expert, advisor, or mentor. Okay, that's where you're trying to create. You've now earned the right. You're at 60 to 70 yards into that meeting, into that exchange. This is now where you can position either digital content with social proof, positioning you as this trusted expert, or demonstrating your process in person, how it solves problems for clients just like them. But the idea is here, you're taking this role on the same side of the table. You're not pitching. You know what I mean? You're becoming their strategic partner, because that allows you to go into the next zone, right? And that is the 80 to 90 yards over here, number D, okay, zone D. That's where I'm at now, if you're following. That is the consequences clarity, right? This is where you, I have it in here as a bit of a dark zone. I see the skull and crossbones leading to the light. This is where you really want to introduce them to some pain if they don't take action. Not some kind of like fake FOMO type thing, but this is where you basically create the, consequences if they don't move forward with you. And it doesn't always have to be this life-changing thing. We don't have time to get into it. I take an entire day to teach this normally, because it's actually very, very deep on that point, because you've got to be careful of the dark side, as Yoda says. When you look in the dark side, it looks back at you, right? And there are certain clients that just don't like being pushed too early. So you've got to, at this point, make it about not taking action, not necessarily about some kind of bad consequences, right? Because you're trying to create emotional urgency without sleazy pressure, right? So that part actually takes the most refinement. Then from there, the 90 to 99 yards, that is essentially the qualification criteria. Okay, I'll put a Q in here so that makes sense. This is where you literally show them and you say, okay, if you're going to invest in a such and such fund, if you like, for example, if you're building a film fund, a hedge fund, a systematic trading fund, a financial advisory business, you're launching a business, it doesn't matter. This is where you basically say, look, if you're going to invest in something like that, make sure you're getting this, that, and under no circumstances can your advisor or your investment ever produce this, because guess what? You're going to be the only one that qualifies, that hits that list. So it's a very short thing. It takes less than a minute, but it's very, very important. And then that earns you the right for the 99 to 101 yards into the end zone, okay? And this is where I've noticed I have the biggest multiplier effects. I can literally walk into an existing business, brand new business, take all their stuff and go, let's go look at your football field, okay? I've done an okay job of explaining it today. I do much better, but the quickest way to think about it like this is think of your business at a minimum 3 steps, because anything serious, you cannot raise serious money, you cannot do anything significant in one meeting. If you try, it will fail. You're better off saying, okay, here's my book a call funnel. Book a call funnel. Then here is my coffee shop. And here is my investor meeting. Right? That's a very, very basic format, depending on your business, you know what I mean? Because you can now create a hybrid of analog and digital systems, okay? Which I think is one of the greatest gifts that AI and automation and things like that have brought us. Because I used to have to do this all manually, okay? Because you can now use AI and automation to handle all the repetitive tasks in that, so that you can show up when you need it in analog, and use that time for conversion and deepening the relationship, right? So analog exchanges are going to be in red. They might just be here, they might be here, and they might be here. Does that make sense to you guys? It's super powerful when you think of it like this, and you can take any business, you can take a book launch, you can take a major fundraise, and you can break it up into all of that, right? Because you've now got this incredible gift of I don't know, call it a digital content multiplication engine, if we had to come up with a name for it, right? Because like on LinkedIn, you could have a little sequence running, all automated. Monday, problem, identify their problem. Wednesday, pain, solution, share your insights. Friday, transformation, show some of the results. Saturday, coffee meeting, like where you guys are right now. You're in my coffee shop. It's super easy. It's super casual. One click, you get in it. You hang out, want to have a meeting, book a call, all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And we literally just do this all the time. You can take I have a recording studio in the Capital Cafe. I can record a 60-minute interview, then use Descript to transcribe it, Claude to optimize it into 12 different content pieces, Zapier or anything like that to distribute it across platforms. My Go High Level does that automatically. You can use Opus Clip to basically clip social clips out of it. I mean, the free version of CapCut does amazing stuff. Veed.io, it literally does all of that for you, adds the captions, adds the footnotes, you can chop it up. It even gives you the link to share, so you don't need to go and upload it to YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, we have a client in Europe, I mean, really, really interesting, old school guy. And just doing a very simple version of that, and we ran an experiment because he's really tight and he didn't want to pay for any software services. I said, okay, use these 3 things. He literally created 287 qualified leads in 30 days on autopilot doing this. Okay. And we took I'm not a social media manager and all that kind of stuff. I just give people the strategy on it. There's people who do that, but we literally took a 1-hour interview with him that him and I did, where I asked him the right questions. We pulled out the really right bits. Then I uploaded the video and he outsourced it to some guy in Bangladesh who chopped it all up. And that basically became his entire funnel. I mean, you can even see mine, by the way. Mine is awful because I don't do a lot of phone calls with people. I like these kind of coffee shop environments, but I don't watch it now. But after the event, you can actually link to it from the dashboard too. I mean, you'll see my book a call funnel. It's super straightforward. I'm not going to give you access to my Calendly unless you've watched a cheesy video with me in it. Then from there, you can now pick your details. From there, you're going to guess what? You're going to get another video landing page with some details. And only once you've done all of that and you hit confirm, does it send me a notification that somebody's requesting a meeting. And then I still have to go in and go yes or no. Okay? Simple automation where you don't waste time. Like all these people that want a 15-minute Zoom call, like cut that shit out. Not only are you giving your most valuable time away for free, right? But you're just making it easy for people on the internet to come and sell you shit, right? So use your time instead to like host like roundtables, interview your favorite client, professionally record them. Hey, guess what? Your new iPhone is just a phenomenal tool, right? iPhone with the Rode capture, like these 2 things. This is a Rode microphone, right? That has a little dongle in it that goes onto your iPhone. You can do face-to-face recordings with your iPhone, and it's an instantaneous podcast in incredible 60 frame per second quality, right? Because everything becomes a content library, right? So you could literally create this workshop content factory, right? Every exercise becomes a lead magnet that works whilst you sleep. Then you can involve like strategic gift systems. Nowadays, you can send anybody anything over the internet for like $25, right? All of my swag for my events. Terry still here? I don't know if Terry's still here. Yeah. Terry's gotten this. All of my swag, all of my stuff for our Crushing It events, all of that is all designed on Canva, printed on Vistaprint, and delivered by UPS. Yeah, I mean, it's super, super quick, right? You can do absolutely personalized, meaningful gifts in the middle of all of that are tied to conversations, right? So that's why I love like the 3, oh, there we go. Terry's got it. Yeah, he's got the stuff. Good stuff, man. There's some more coming. Let me know when you run out. I'll send you some more. But, so like even I love a 3-layer meeting framework, right? My consulting fees are, $20,000-$30,000, right? So am I gonna jump on a call with everybody? No, I have a 3-layer meeting framework in that, right? So the preparation, which is all digital, I send a pre-meeting video, highlights of, of what it's like working with me, expectations, agenda, reminders, and then one-click link into the Capital Cafe. So if you're a client of mine, you see a completely different version of the Capital Cafe, by the way, because you see buttons that most people who just come here first time don't see, right? Different Zoom rooms, different experiences, different teams, right? But then the experience allows me to be all in analog, right? All in, but it's recorded in HD. My part is recorded. I don't like to record other people, right? Unless they want it and I'm interviewing it for them, but my part is recorded in full HD. So now I've got structured transformations with documentation. I have AI stuff built in it that gets me the transcript, that gives me the meeting summaries, all over that kind of thing. My virtual assistant plugs right in and goes, oh, Anrik said he's going to send that, he's going to send that. John said he's going to send that, and then she makes sure that we do it, right? And then the follow-up again is this digital fusion again. It immediately sends out a follow-up reminder. It sends out a request. Hey, what did you think of the meeting? Anything we missed? I get the most amazing testimonials. One day I'm going to upload them all to the internet. You know what I mean? But because these things turn into digital assets, right? And they're sure they're automated sequences, but if they're authentic and they're real and they invite the person to my next cafe event, I think it's a win-win. As long as you're not overselling in your events, which I don't do. You know what I mean? So my kind of nugget on that one is to think of this a little bit differently. So whilst everybody else, okay, is building funnels, go and build a magnetic, omnipresent ecosystems that attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. And it's really just a little bit of focus that does it. So then when you create this fusion multiplier, okay, where number one, step one, you turn every analog interaction into digital assets, right? That can work for you 24/7. You can take the digital engagement that you're getting into these analog opportunities all the time. I do it in LinkedIn all the time. I love posts that have 5 comments on them because I know those are the 5 real people. Those 5 people will be back again tomorrow, and guess what? They're going to get an invite to my next Capital Cafe. Hopefully the meeting isn't as long as this one, and it's shorter, but there are super casual ones where there's no agenda, where it's like, I pull up a chair and we grab a little cocktail and we talk shit, right? It's also nice. That's great when you're doing that with your tribe, when your people. Make sense? It's really enjoyable. And I'm like, okay, we're going to call this business. Okay. All right, let's call it. Let's have a business meeting, right? Because you can just turn it into this engine, and then you create these fusion points where both worlds amplify each other, right? So I use the Capital Cafe extensively. I showed the guys on Wednesday, there have been 4,403 people in the Capital Cafe. So I don't need to put people on a mailing list. They're in the Capital Cafe. Now you've got a one-click link, right? So the next time I'm doing something interesting, I'm interviewing somebody interesting, and you got an email or you saw it on LinkedIn, click, pop in. I don't need you to be in this complicated funnel and all that stuff. If you want to hang out and you get value, it's great. You're going to meet people in my cafes. You're going to meet people. I have 3 or 4 of these. Yeah, I mean, it is just an amazing, amazing gift, right? Because in here, I also have a podcast studio in the Capital Cafe. So now you could be sitting in Tokyo. I'm sitting here. We're having a meeting. It's fully recorded. It's super cool if we share the same background or we don't do a background. It doesn't matter, right? But now you've got this 1 hour HD recorded video message. My one thing, though, I have advice for everybody is audio. Super important. People will forgive you shitty video. They will not forgive you bad audio. And that is the part, but you don't need to spend money. $100 will do it. I have a couple of these. I have another set over there from Hollyland. These microphones work really nice. So anyway, I just want to get back onto this whole thing, because the traditional funnel basically says, follow my path. But if you think of this as a dark funnel, do you care that people went there, then they went there, then they went to YouTube, then they went to LinkedIn, then they saw something over there, then they were scrolling on Facebook and they saw an interesting post about you and your dog on Facebook? It's this omnipresence, right? So you're basically giving people the power to say, hey, discover your own reasons to believe in me. And if my style offends you, well, let's do it out there in the free seats. Don't Don't come in here once you're, 20 steps into my funnel and we're having a meeting and we're now at a steakhouse and we're spending $1,000 on dinner to then go, you know what? That dude's a dick. I don't like him. Yeah, I mean, just figure that out right in the beginning. That's where the authenticity comes in. Admittedly, I push it a little bit too far, but that really brings this next problem, because you hit this kind of like ceiling on this kind of stuff. So even with the knowledge to, find your perfect right fit client and come up with this killer story, build the fusion systems, you hit this ultimate breakthrough challenge that I found, right? And this is, I'm going to really speed up and give you guys the goods on this, because everyone goes, oh, this sounds too complicated, okay? But complicated is like makes you broke and frustrated, and watching inferior people make stacks of money, right? And most entrepreneurs build these systems piece by piece, and then they wonder why they don't work together. And that was my biggest breakthrough right now. And some of you guys have actually been through that training. I know Terry has seen kind of early parts of it, because I built all of this into a system, and it really, really helped me. And it was really just called the SSS framework. I haven't got a better word for it yet. I know it's the same digits that you get on your boarding pass right before you get cavity searched, right? But it's strategy plus story plus systems, okay? And it's literally like this. And I want you to visualize it like that, okay? Let me switch back to this guy real quickly for some reason. Why is that not working? Not working. Interesting. There we go. Okay. We're back. Too many buttons here. So just visualize this real quickly whilst I talk you through it, okay? We've got a car, we've got an engine, we've got the road, we've got fuel, and the strategy. And I'll literally talk this to you, and it will absolutely help the way you build this and you think through this, okay? Because this strategy plus story plus systems has just been such a breakthrough for everyone we work through. And you think of your strategy, right, as your navigation system with absolute clarity on who it is that you are, who your right fit client is, and you think of the roadmap really and the destination coordinates, and you think of strategy as your GPS, as your map, as your tools, okay? Because it's got to be clear and not clever, right? You don't sell strategy, you do strategy, right? But the story part is the emotional engine, right? Remember what I said earlier, we tell stories so that people will do something, right? Because it moves them emotionally. So having a car, right, which is all these wonderful systems, without a story and engine in it will just absolutely be dead in the water. Because your systems, you want to literally structure for consistent, scalable execution. And the systems are nice, especially if you're an oversensitive fellow like me. Those systems will help you breach that rejection that you keep getting. Because when you put yourself out there and, people say, oh, Anrik, that's just business. Don't take it so personal. I'm like, no, this is super personal, because the business you build is one of the most personal and most important things, right? And when you're putting your heart and soul into something, it's like somebody rejecting your kids. It almost feels worse than them rejecting you, right? Because all of us as like dads are going to do more for our kids than we'll ever do for ourselves. And that's how it goes. There we go, Jacob. You owe me $50 for that. You guys should have seen that. That was super, super cute. His daughter giving him a kiss. That is just one of the most gorgeous moments ever. Because when you create systems, they're not rejecting you. It's just a system failure. You can go and iterate that and adjust that. And when you create these systems, and I mean, with AI these days, it is unbelievable what you do, right? Because strategy without systems is like just sophisticated daydreaming. And systems without strategy is organized chaos. But story without both of those is just expensive entertainment. So you really got to think about it like this. You need the strategy right, get that right, spend money there. Get the story right. It's okay if it's not perfect. People don't love you for your perfection. They actually love you for your imperfection, okay? But nobody wants to listen to a 30-minute woe is me story of how this guy screwed you and that guy screwed you and that guy screwed you. They're not interested because they're tuned into WIIFM. What's in it for me? But if you have an expensive lesson that you learned that you can now teach your clients, help your clients with, you're winning on that. I mean, in our workshops, we go through different storytelling, arcs that are just absolutely wonderful, because I think one of the important ways to think about this, it's not analog or digital, right? That's just a distraction, because people are doing both, right? They're not just experiencing your digital presence or your analog interaction. They're experiencing a single relationship with you across multiple channels. And that's where even LinkedIn is so important. If you've got like 3 stupid people that keep saying stupid things on your LinkedIn posts, block them, get rid of them, because the real guys, 90% of people on LinkedIn are lurkers, right? They're watching how you show up, where you show up. So the game is in the comments. The fastest game in LinkedIn is in the comments. Comment on people's posts, people who either you want in your universe or people who have your client. They're going to see how you show up, I have a whole LinkedIn program that I actually used to sell. It was hilarious. It's like I just put all of these videos just like this, added them all together, and 500 people bought that for $497. But it got too much work to automate that and keep supporting that, so I kind of stopped doing it. But it works really, really, really well. So let me just drop that quick nugget in there so I don't forget about it, because the real world proof that you can get, I mean, is so powerful when you just show up, and you show up with a bit of a strategy and a bit of a plan. It's a little bit like, don't create an escalator, an elevator pitch, create an escalator pitch. Because when you're standing on an escalator and I see JK there and he's got a bag from with a Marvel character on it, and it's Tony Stark going, a peace sign, I'm going to start talking to him because I'm a Tony Stark fan. You know what I mean? It's this little opening, pulling thread, or, somebody's walking around with a bag with a Sinclair ZX Spectrum on it, or versus Commodore 64K. I'm going to talk to you because I was in the ZX Spectrum team, and my friends were all Commodores, and I showed them how they can hack their computer systems to get free cable, late night kind of cable, the naughty kind. You know what I mean? So it's a little golden thread, but you see how the origin story can drop into that, right? And once you start focusing on this, we have had incredible results with people. I mean, I've got one client of mine who literally doesn't know how to turn a computer on, and he has gone from a 0% close rate to 71% close rate. 60 days, just with what you guys have learned today, basically. Little deeper than that. Yeah, I myself, I cut my touch points in my sales cycles down from 31 points to 9, and doubled my own close rate. I mean, it's really interesting. So I'll tell you a quick story of, I'm going to give you guys some stuff. I just got to find it. So I started writing this book. Okay. And I wrote this book, The 10 Steps to Raising Capital. And it sat on my computer for so long, man. And oh God. Then I read the thing and I'm like, okay, this is good, but seriously, dude, you can do much better. So then I wrote this one. Oh, no, it's off the screen. It's called Capital Raising Secrets. And then I read that, and I just kept making it better and better, and it went deeper and deeper and deeper. And at a certain point, I'm like, you know what? The title of this book is like completely wrong. No, it's interesting. I used the book. I use the content in it. So it's like this live content. Some of today is going to go into that too. Yeah. So it kind of grew up from there. So let me see where the next iteration of it. That's the next iteration, because I realized that it wasn't just secrets and tactics and resources and little tools in it. It went much, much, much deeper. It actually addressed the core of capital attraction and client attraction, right? Into beliefs and identities, strategies and rituals. And then it basically morphed into that, the Tower of Capital Attraction, right? And then last night I had this really cool idea. So you guys are the first ones to hear this, that I'm going to build this launch club essentially, because everything that we've covered here today, which has been a very, very small sample, is going to be detailed. It's actually already in the book, right? I just did the first two chapters today, because the title of the book is essentially The Tower of Capital Attraction: How to Stop Chasing Money and Start Attracting It. I'm going to make that better. And it's not just like a business book, it's the complete playbook that's helped entrepreneurs raise billions. Some of them into the hundreds of billions through authentic capital attraction and analog digital fusion, right? So I created this launch club, and it's essentially, I mean, you're going to get it for free, so don't worry. This is not some like upsell thing, blah, 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 where you have to now pull out your credit card. I don't do that, right? But the launch club really, I thought, okay, what about, I'm going to need some help launching this, right? And I want to test it on people. So why don't I just create a complete like fusion toolkit, right? I'm going to throw in a signature story workshop. My workshops they start at $9.97, right? Right Fit Client Identification Masterclass. Let's do that. Then I'm going to do another Crushing It event, which Terry has been to. It's a live 3-day event, full court, where we go day 1 strategy, day 2 stories, day 3 systems, right? Inside Crushing It, there is an upsell to our boot camps, right? That's the only way you get into our boot camps, just that you know. But essentially, I'm going to give you all of that for free, okay? Because my plan is I'm going to create a launch club with 1,000 people. Right now, there's 147 on it. The only reason why there's 147 on it is because that URL has been live and it's been available from the cafe. But if you want to join it, you absolutely can. You can get the link from in the cafe, or just go to capitalraising.live. I know I should change the URL, but you can join the. Yeah, it's not the real Tao. I know, but it's what I came up with. I'm with you. So here are 4 ways that I can help you a little bit more. Okay, so number 1 was the book club that I dropped you in there. Number 2, if you want, you can, in the Capital Cafe, you can explore, book a one-on-one meeting with me. Okay. I mostly use those for people who want a demonstration and want to build their own Capital Cafe, right? Like I'll use it for my events, right? This is basically a portal into my events. I build them as digital boardrooms. This is a new business I started. I am absolutely loving it, because what I've done, I've created the tool to build all of this that we've spoken about today and integrate it. Because I think social media is literally a dangerous game, but those should just be billboards, because you cannot build your communities in there. You can get deplatformed like that. Do you remember the whole pandemic ivermectin thing? You make a political statement that's wrong, boom. Some person sitting in a basement in Seattle is going to deplatform you, and there go all your clients. Facebook is even worse right now. Zuckerberg is talking a big story, but they're absolutely controlling everything that you see. And I think that's a major, major risk. So I don't care. I've got all this presence out there, but everybody comes to the cafe, right? And you come into the cafe. This is where we can meet. We can hang out. You can book a one-on-one meeting. If you book a one-on-one meeting, guess what? We're having it back in the cafe, right? You already have a link. There's no passwords, there's no nonsense like that. It's all controlled. We build these for capital raising platforms where you have proper disclaimers, personal check-in meetings. Your assistant can have a meeting, and once she's approved you, boom, you go to the main meeting. So we build that. So if you want to see that, I do private strategy sessions if you like. Obviously, I'd love for you to join the book launch club. And if you're at all interested in this topic and want to go deeper, as soon as I announce the dates for the next Crushing It, we just finished one. That's our 3-day event. You guys will get, Launch Club members will get 80% off the ticket price. Really just as a thank you thing, because I'm trying to build the 1,000 people that are my tribe. Those are my people. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I wanted to go with the conversation today, is to really bring up not just the problem of old school versus analog, but actually the way to build it and the way to kind of do it.